is already strong, emotionally resonant, immersive, and beautifully structured. I've refined some sentences for clarity, flow, and impact while maintaining the depth of feeling. The sky hung heavy with a dull grey, a sombre reflection of the weight pressing against Mira's chest as she stood outside the hospital entrance. The cold wind howled through the streets, sending shivers down her spine, but she barely noticed. Her fingers tightened around the handle of her bag, knuckles turning white. For years she had avoided this place, convincing herself she had moved on. But fate had a cruel way of dragging people back to the unfinished chapters of their lives. She inhaled deeply before stepping inside, her boots echoing against the polished floors. The sharp scent of antiseptic and fresh linen filled her nostrils, stirring memories she had buried long ago. Her heart pounded as she approached the reception desk. "I'm here to see Ethan Carter," she murmured. The receptionist nodded, scanning the patient list. "Room 305, she said, offering a small, polite smile, one Mira couldn't bring herself to return. With heavy steps, she made her way to the elevator. In the mirrored doors, her reflection stared back at her, exhausted, hollow-eyed, the dark circles beneath them betraying her sleepless nights. The past never truly let go. It clung to her like a ghost, whispering reminders of what she had lost. When the doors slid open, she stepped onto the third floor. The sterile white walls and the rhythmic beeping of machines made her stomach churn. Tightening her grip on her bag, she walked toward room 305. Her fingers trembled as she turned the doorknob and pushed the door open. There he was, Ethan. The sight of him stole her breath. He lay motionless, wires and tubes connecting him to machines, his face pale against the stark white pillow. The boy she once knew, the boy she had loved so fiercely, was now a man fighting for his life. Her heart clenched. She wanted to run, to escape the pain clawing at her chest, but her feet remained rooted to the floor. "Mira?" His voice was hoarse, barely above a whisper, yet it cut through the silence like a thunderclap. Tears welled in her eyes as she stepped closer. "Hey, Ethan?" He attempted a weak smile, his lips barely curving. "Didn't think I'd see you again." She let out a shaky breath, her fingers twisting together. "Neither did I." A heavy silence stretched between them, thick with unspoken words and shattered years. Mira swallowed hard, forcing herself to meet his gaze. "How are you feeling?" A small, humorless chuckle escaped his lips. "Like I got hit by a truck." She tried to smile, but it felt foreign on her lips. "You kind of did," she murmured. Ethan's eyes softened as he studied her, as if trying to memorize every detail of her face. "You haven't changed much, still beautiful." Her throat tightened. "And you're still a flirt." He chuckled again, but it turned into a cough, his body shaking from the effort. Instinctively, Mira reached forward, her hand finding his arm. The contact sent a jolt through her, memories crashing over her like a tidal wave. "I missed you," he said when he finally caught his breath. Mira looked away, blinking rapidly. "Ethan!" "I know." His voice was gentle, laced with regret. "I know I messed up. I know I hurt you. And I'm sorry, Mira, for everything." Her eyes burned as she sucked in a shaky breath. She had carried this pain for so long, letting it fester like an open wound. But now, standing before him, so fragile, so human, it was impossible to hold on to the anger. "I missed you too," she whispered. His lips parted slightly, surprise flickering in his eyes before softening into something warm, something achingly familiar. "Does this mean you forgive me?" A broken laugh escaped her. "I don't know, but I think I want to try." A tear slipped down his cheek as he squeezed her hand weakly. "That's more than I deserve." She shook her head. "It's not about deserving, Ethan. It's about wanting to move forward." He nodded, his gaze never leaving hers. "Then let's move forward together." And for the first time in years, Mira felt like she could finally breathe again. She sat beside him, holding his hand as the machines continued their steady beeping. The sound no longer felt as ominous as before. The road ahead wouldn't be easy. There would be pain, regrets, and wounds still waiting to heal. But for now, in this quiet room, with the boy she once lost and the man he had become, she allowed herself to hope. Hope for second chances. Hope for healing. Hope for a love strong enough to weather even the darkest storms. And maybe, just maybe, that was enough. This revision